back in second grade, we had this occupation week. What do you want to be one day? Do you want to be a fireman or a doctor or a lawyer? All of those kinds of things. And the teacher had each kid come to the front of the class and do a little bit of charades of what do you want to be one day? And so I went up and I did this. Because I just wanted to play video games all day. But the teacher was like, do you want to be a computer programmer? And I'm like, whatever that is, sure, I'll be that. But funny how life worked out. In the end, I did end up becoming a programmer of sorts. But I'm also really glad. It's kind of like destiny to be able to learn coding, because it's become absolutely one of my favorite creative skills. And it's opened up such a massive space for me to work in and create. So today I want to just talk a little bit about coding as a creative medium. And I think some people might find that a little bit odd because they see coding as a technical thing. It's in computer science. There's like things like math, logic, all of the kind of hard skills. But I want to challenge that a little bit and present coding as a creative medium. I mean, yes, it does entail all the technical stuff, don't get me wrong. But I think once you view it as a creative thing, it opens up a huge possibility space of creative expression. So let me explain a little bit more. I did do computer science in high school, but I absolutely hated it. It was way too technical. I mean, we did things like how to optimize search algorithms, like specific data structures, like how to optimize storing certain data. It was just really boring and it wasn't very interesting for me. But I still coded on the side in high school just for fun. I dabbled in making a few websites. I made custom game mods and things like custom Warcraft maps, Dota style maps. So it was a lot of fun. Because of this experience in high school, I ended up studying not programming at all. I studied linguistics, which is a topic for another video one day. Again, I still coded on the side just for fun, and in this case actually more purposeful. I coded little tools to help me learn Chinese characters better. I was learning Chinese too, and that's when I realized coding is more than just computer science. You can use it to create something, and it's almost endless, the possibilities that you can create. What do I mean by coding is a creative medium? So I want to give some examples. So currently coding, if you look at the tech industry, it's more the hip kind of coding happens these days. You've got websites and apps like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Obviously there's much more than that in the tech industry, but that's, I would say, the cool hip stuff, and that's kind of the obvious application of coding, which is still very fun. There's a lot of fun things you can do there. Then you can apply coding into an existing creative domain, like art, music, those kinds of things. For example, you can create code that creates art, so they call it generative art. Or these days people use AI to help write scripts and poetry and stuff like that, which is a lot of fun. Then you can go one level up, which is apps or code that help you create other creative work. So things like Photoshop, Final Cut Pro, Ableton. But I think it goes a little bit deeper than that, my view of coding. And this is a bit more on a philosophical level. I see coding as a canvas of bits and bytes that you can manipulate in this digital realm to manifest almost anything. And it's kind of funny, but it's almost like the Matrix, where the code kind of flows down like this. It's like you're siphoning and manipulating it to create a new reality, like something out of thin air. And it almost feels like a superpower to me. I want to come back to an example of the tool that I built in university for learning Chinese characters. It was a Chinese character dictionary, but at the time there were multiple sources of how to learn Chinese characters, and each dictionary had information that the other one didn't have, and it was very cumbersome and annoying to keep going back and forth between dictionaries, and I had to find a way to bring these two together, and so to make my life easier, to be honest. And so I merged them, and it was this like new synthesis that happened. I created something out of thin air. Suddenly I had something that was not out there, that was not built before, and I just had to bring these two sources together. And the awesome thing is, now I can learn better too. It's so powerful because the potential is limitless, but you can also create something to solve something that creates more. It's just mind-blowing, and it's so addictive, that feeling, and it's hard to explain how mind-blowing it is when you can think something and it just appears, or you can just make it appear out of bits and bytes. But wait, there's more. It gets better. Coding for me exists in a post-scarce environment and from a point of abundance. A lot of code these days is open source code. Anyone can look at it or use it in their own way or learn from others. And whenever you looking for something like a solution, like let's say I had that dictionary file and I wanted to read the file in some way in code and parse it and do something with it. I was like, how do I do this? Just Googled it, boom, it's already there, it's free to use. If you want to create a synth or a little music tool, it's already free, out there, already for you to use. And even something like, do you want to dissect Chinese characters to learn what is inside them so you can learn better? It's already out there. Like, I made it. And it's almost like this creation that all of humanity is making, and it feeds on itself. Like, the more you create and give back to this community, the more you gain from it. And it's almost like having this separate brain that you can use. It is really incredible, and this is still growing. This is still growing, and it's still getting better every day. It is an absolutely amazing time to get into coding. I want to bring this back down to earth for a little bit. I get a little bit too excited. I think a lot of people, creative people or creators think, nah, I'm not technical enough, or I'm not smart enough for coding. But I want to challenge that, and maybe it might be like a very small, simple thing. Just flip a switch in your mind and don't view coding as a technical thing. View it as a creative skill. Maybe that helps you to pick it up or just see it a little bit differently. And one thing I want to add is that people have this idea that maybe if you're outside of coding, that there's this perfect way or the right way to code. But code, again, is a medium. So you use it to create something else. So code is the result. And I can firmly say, most users do not care what technology you use, what kind of database things are stored in, or some other new technology that you're using to create something. They just want to see the result. And so there's no right way to code. That does not exist. I don't see myself as a technical coder. I can understand the technical things and I can figure it out, but my code is not the best code at all. By far. There are way better technical coders than me out there. And that's a good thing, because code, especially when you code for yourself, it does not need efficient code or effective code or precision in any way. It's just, what does it create? And it doesn't matter how effective it is. My first code it's not very effective at all, but it didn't matter because it created something. And if you code for yourself first, or for a small group of people, it doesn't matter. You can code. And don't worry about the technicality of it. Just create something and get it out there. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope my excitement came through. I really think people should try out and look at coding. It's so much fun and there's so much to create. I do have a Patreon page if you want to support this channel. I also use Patreon as another creative outlet where I want to talk a bit more on a meta level of creating a YouTube channel and the whole process of learning how to create video, filming, scripts, all those mistakes, successes, learnings, I'm very excited for that process too. So go check it out. And thank you so much and have a good day. Cheers.